channel. It's Red Roses here. Today I'm going to be reviewing a movie that was inspired by Stephen King, and this movie is Pet Sematary. Not the 2019 version, the 1989 version, which was the original version that was directed by Mary Lambert, but was inspired by, Stephen King's famous novel Pet Sematary. Now, the reason why I'm reviewing this movie is because I'm going to be seeing the remake of Pet Sematary really soon, and I was kind of contemplating when I should make this video, because it will seem ideal to make this video after I would watch the remake, and then I could compare the two. But I really don't want to compare them though. They're easy to compare and contrast, but I just want to focus on one individual movie, and then later on when I do see the remake of Pet Sematary, I will do a review off of that and see, basically tell you everything I think about it, and basically plot, and then spoilers, and we all get to that good stuff. But right now I want to review this particular movie because this movie I watched when I was very young. I grew up on, actually, Pet Sematary, and I remember the first time I was watching it, the first time I watched this movie, after watching it, me being like a child after watching this movie, so many thoughts came to my head. Again, the questioning of reality, and I just had so many emotions and so many thoughts after watching this movie, so many questionable thoughts that I was somewhat traumatized, but I actually really was fascinated by this movie simply because of everything, basically just the entire message throughout the entire movie. It's just I feel like what Pet Sematary really was all about was just dealing with grief, dealing with pain of losing a loved one, someone that you really, really love, and they die in a very tragic way, or they just die, and it's very unexpected, you weren't prepared for it, and it really conveys that feeling of trying to deal with grief and finding a way to cope with your pain after losing that loved one of yours. And the way that Stephen King has put that concept into this movie, and then kind of manipulated it and twisted it around and added some supernatural elements in there and supernatural horror in here, the way he just puts this fiction kind of plot together about this Pet Sematary. Not necessarily, no, not really the Pet Sematary, it's what's beyond the Pet Sematary, and that place where people were in the film, the 1989 film, the place where that was the place where people were buried and brought back to life, way back then, where it was an Indian burial ground, and after a large sum of years went by, it's still there. And the way he added that into the story, oh, here's something to bring them back to life, but wait, there's a catch, there's a price to pay, and there's something that you don't know about bringing them back, and what it will cost you, and what will actually happen, and it won't, you will regret bringing them back. So yeah, let's just get into this review. I just wanted to talk about mostly what that movie. I've seen it when I was a child. It was scary. There were so many things about this movie that's very unsettling and uneasy and very heart-wrenching. Okay, so if you guys don't know, I haven't seen this movie, Pet Sematary. This movie follows a family that moves to Maine, which, let me just let me just mention Maine for a second. It seems like in most of Stephen King's stories, for some reason, Maine is this scary place, I guess, because Maine is like literally just, you know, most of his novels take place in Maine. You know, this movie, I'm sure there's another, I read like another book in the past where by him where some other place takes place in Maine. So, you know, that's creepy enough. But yes, this story takes place in Maine. Anyways, this family moves to Maine, and they move to this house. And you know, once they move in, you know, they're getting settled in. They're happy, it seems, in the beginning, and then the first thing that happens in this movie that's kind of like, oh, like daunting is like the cat dies. Church, he's literally, and now let me just say, I feel like Church could be signified or confirmed as a horror icon. I consider Church a horror icon because, you know, no, like animals, okay, there's this thing with animals, how they can appear very lovable and, you know, fun-loving and just so compassionate. But the way he makes this happen, the way Stephen King makes this movie happen, turning something so sweet and precious into this monster, that is just so, oh. But that is, oh, that got me so, that really, he knows what he's doing in terms of horror, and actually, like, he knows how to instill that fear, you know, taking that thing that's precious, most precious to you, and then it dies, and then you decide to bring it back, but it comes back evil. It's very twisted enough, and it's just scary. It's just that scary feeling you get in the pit, that really sick feeling you get in the pit of your stomach. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, anyway, the first character in the movie that dies is Church, and, you know, it's kind of sad, actually, and but I feel like when Church dies, it's kind of like in the movie, you know, the father, Lewis, he just, you know, yeah, okay, let's bury it, but Judd, he mentions the place beyond the pet cemetery. So yeah, they bury it. He mentions we're gonna bury it, but we're gonna bury it somewhere like around here, and he shows the father, Judd, which is the guy who he's like this old man who you know, doesn't live too far from the house that they just moved in from, and he's kind of like, you know, helping the family basically, and just having kind of like this relationship with the father, and, you know, they're like having beers together, talking and stuff. So yeah, that, I feel like Judd is actually another special character in this movie. But anyway, he shows him this place beyond the pet cemetery, and where the ground is sour, and the soil is bad, and it's just filed soil, and you know, there's a bunch of rocks in different places. It's just like this huge symbol, kind of like, it's a burial ground, and, you know, he shows him that place, and then, you know, they end up burying Church there. And so, like, I think the next day Church comes back, but he doesn't come back the same. So yeah, I feel like, you know, the cat, poor cat, Church, he really oh my gosh, like, he's the first scariest thing in this movie to me. And afterwards, things just really, like, unfold. But yeah, this entire movie is like revolving around death and the disadvantages of it when you cheat death. So you know, when someone dies, I know it's like, it must be really tragic, you know, just to see what these characters went through, like, as far as the parents go. Even the little sister, actually no, the big sister, even the big sister, when the baby dies, Gage, when he dies, that literally just shattered my entire existence. It shattered. Oh my gosh. The scene was so well done, but it got me. It got so many people, I bet, and it's own, like, oh, that movie, like, oh my gosh, it's so mean to do that, but it's so that was just a cruel thing to do. But, you know, this is it. Like, this is what it is. Like, this is what Stephen King, like, come on, this is Stephen King. So, yeah, and these, you know, as the movie goes on, it's like things are getting worse and worse and worse. I feel like throughout this entire movie, from the beginning, it was very unsettling. Like, this entire movie just gives off this uneasy presence. The cinematography is really good, and the music is actually really spooky too. It's like really just, it gives you this uneasy feeling, and when the really, really terrible scenes happen, it hits you even harder. And I felt like when I was little and when I watched this movie and certain scenes happened and the way the movie was carrying on with these characters, how the parents felt, like all this grief that they felt after their child died, with a freaking 8-wheeler truck just runs him over in the freaking street, in the road. By the way, that road, that road, something is up with that road, or these people are not paying attention who's riding these trucks. Like, they're not paying attention. And you know what, so the parents weren't even paying attention. Parents pay close attention to your kids, okay? So yeah. Yes, that was just so gripping, so it made me feel all kinds of things after watching that scene. Oh gosh, he was just so cute and so innocent, and then just to see that taken away so easily, like just like that, within a snap of a finger, like in a split second, that just happened, and you're just like, why? But at any rate, I'm sorry, I'm getting off track. I'm not even talking about the movie and like what's it about. But yeah, you know, you guys, this movie, you know, they discover this place beyond the pet cemetery. You know, it's so odd that all of a sudden, like, their son just so happened to die. Like, and you know, Judd tells the father, like, you know, you don't want to do this. You're gonna regret it. And I already told you about this place. Like, you can't. Like, it's hard. It must be really hard. I know it's hard, but to deal with this, but you will get through this. Like, you have to move on through this. You cannot just, you can't just do this, because you're gonna regret it. Like, he's not gonna come back the same. So, you know, the father doesn't listen, of course, and just basically digs up his dead son and then goes back to that burial ground and buries him there. And then that's when things just start to go completely, that's when things start to get really, really creepy, okay? The cat's creepy enough, and it's already like roaming around the house, you know, feeling free to do whatever it pleases and terrorizing the father to death, you know, hacking up a dead rat in the freaking tub. That's disgusting and scary enough. And that's, it's disgusting. And I just want to mention another character in this film that was actually really, really scary. I feel like Zelda, which she has a very small part in this film, but I feel like, you know, she is like really creepy. Like, the backstory behind this character actually resonates with the mother, Rachel Creed. I think, I forgot exactly who she is, but that's just like a backstory with the mother of this film. And it seems like this whole time, like throughout the entire movie, not the entire movie, but most of the proportion of the movie, she's like terrorizing the mother to death, like haunting her basically. And I feel like, she's just so, she's like really decrepit and like, and her back's all blah, which I'm gonna mention the remake a little bit. When I saw the trailer to, you know, Pet Sematary for the first time, and I saw that part with the woman with, you know, Zelda. When I saw Zelda in the trailer, she was like, the cracking and the back breaking. I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna be a lot more scarier in this movie, because that is freaking creepy. Okay, that is scary right there. So Yeah, this film is really, really, it, I can't even, it's what you don't want to happen. And I think that's what Stephen King really knows how to do. He takes the fear in the real world. What makes it so sad is like, because that could actually happen to anybody's child. Like, they could just go on the street and then they could get ran over like that, and that just literally happens within a split second. And just because you're not paying attention, like just because the parents won't pay attention, are not really paying close enough attention to their child, that happens. And you know, afterwards, it's just such, you know, the parents have to live with that guilt. They have to live with that they have to live with that for the rest of their lives. And now, of course, I'm not a parent, but I just feel it because I love little babies, like. But yeah, like this movie is completely, like, oh my gosh, it really gives you a sick feeling to the stomach. It really does. Not just with what happened. That's already, but like with the terrible tragic scenes. Okay, that already instills that fear inside of you, and that sick feeling in the pit of your stomach, like oh my gosh, like and it's not only that, those scenes. It's also just the makeup effects. Oh my gosh, makeup effects in this Pet Sematary, or in the Pet Sematary original, were so good. They were so creepy. They were so believable and so realistic that you can actually believe, like, oh, that actually happened. And really with Gage, what they did with Miko Hughes, who plays Gage, what they did with him, I just, we all know Miko Hughes is really talented. He was so talented in this movie. Like, he was so, like, he did so well playing this character, being a 2-year-old at the time. And I just find it so amazing. I find that really fascinating that a child can act like this. And you know, that, like, he's really talented. Like, Miko Hughes, he is really, really talented. Like, I loved him from this movie to New Nightmare, which is a movie that he was in, and it was basically, you know, by Wes Craven, and it was kind of like one of those movies with a movie within a movie, but it was basically a continuation of the Nightmare on Elm Street series. But that was a good movie. He did a great job in there. Such a great actor. He was such a great child actor. And for him to play this part, like this specific part in this movie of, like, he did so good, so good. I will never stop saying that. He did so good. And so did the other characters. I feel like the cast was, like, played these characters really, really well. Acting was very believable. Everything just seemed really believable in this movie. And that's what I really admire most about horror films, is when they seem really realistic. I feel like most of the horror movies that convey, like, a realistic message, and actually, like, the plot is like realistic, that, you know, something that can actually happen in the real world, I feel like that's most scary, because if you think about it, it's something that can happen in the real world, and you're like, well, I don't want that to happen to me, or oh God, like, I know how I would feel. You know, you can relate to the plot, you can relate to the characters, you can relate to everyone who's going through whatever in the movie, and that is the best thing about this movie. Even at a young age, I was so able to understand what was going on. It was just, Pet Sematary was just such a well-executed movie in terms of story, characters, horror, everything. I love this movie 100%, even though it still gives me this sick feeling in the pit of my stomach every time certain scenes carry out. And, like, just the entire movie, from beginning to end, so unsettling. It just gives you this really unsettling feeling. And you know, one of the characters I feel like was a really special character in this movie was Paxcal, who was basically sort of like a conduit, like he was a ghost, and he died like from this terrible accident. And then Louis Creed, but by the way, you know, Louis Creed, the father, he's actually a doctor, and he was trying to, you know, he was doing everything he could to make sure this man lived, but sadly he died. And you know, he actually feels really, Louis actually like feels really bad, and you know, he feels really sorry for himself for you know, letting this guy die. And I think what Pascal, like, he noticed that how much he wanted him to live, and he noticed how much effort he put in like trying to help him survive. And that's why he's sort of like the helper in this movie. He's the one kind of like he's the positive kind of vibe in this movie, I would say, because he's trying to convince you know, the father that, you know, once Gage dies, you know, we try to convince him, like, no, don't do that, like, don't go bury him back there, because you know, you know what's gonna happen. Like, the father knows what's gonna happen, but he doesn't care. You know, he just misses his son. He just wants to see him again, and he wants more time with him. And because, you know, he wasn't ready. Like, literally none of the parents, Judd, even the little big sister, she was not ready. None of them were ready for what happened in that road. Like, they were just like, literally, it was just like a normal day. They were having this everyday, something an everyday family probably would do. Have a little picnic, you know, play, and he was playing with the kite, and then he got, you know, sidetracked and everything, trying to get the kite, and the parents weren't paying attention, and then at the very last minute, Judd yells, "Oh, get the baby!" Go get the baby, like, and it's like, oh God, like, I remember first watching, I hope they just get the baby, Nope. It was bad. It was so bad. But so good at the same time. But at any rate, no, I really enjoyed this movie overall. It was great, and despite the many horrors it brought to me, and the many thoughts and, you know, questions that it brought to me, that like filled my head, all the questions, all the statements, all the thoughts, just everything. It was like, what, like, why? So yeah, but yeah, you know, like, the character Pascal, he was really a great helper in this film, and I think the person who played him and the makeup effects for like that particular character was so good. Like, it looked so realistic. Like, his head was like, his brain was showing, okay, and his head, but it was so good, like, so good. So yeah, everything about this movie is great to me. I love it because it's a really strong message, whether it's negative or, which I really don't want to even say it's negative or positive, because like, even the character Louis, like, he's not perfect. He's just like this average guy. He's just this normal Joe. He's this normal guy with a family. He's a doctor, you know, he's not perfect, you know, he goes through things like other people do. And the way that this actor conveyed, like, that character, like, the way he acted as this character, like, he was probably the most emotional person, like just such great acting from him and the mother, the actress who played the mother. I don't remember her name, but yeah, these guys were amazing. Okay, like, amazing. So yeah, I love this movie. I'm gonna keep saying it. I know I said it before, but I really love this movie. If you guys haven't seen Pet Sematary, I definitely recommend you check it out if you're a horror fan. You know, I feel like most horror fans have seen this movie though, but if you haven't seen it, I'd recommend you check it out, because you might be surprised at, I feel like you will be surprised, okay, because this movie is just so good. It's too good. So yeah, definitely recommend you go see this, as well as, you know, if you guys, you know, I haven't seen the remake yet, and I'm gonna get into, I'm gonna do a review after I do see the movie, the remake, and you know, I'm gonna tell you what I think about, just a quick second, I'm gonna tell you what I think about the remake now, like the remake that's going on now. I felt different in the past about this remake happening just because of that major change in the movie where it's pretty much shown in the trailer where Gage doesn't die in this remake. No, it's not Gage. It's actually the older sister, Ellie. She dies, and to me, that change to me wasn't. I didn't really agree with it because I feel like Gage is such an iconic character in the original, and I feel like, you know, he was pretty much like this cute innocent child, and not to say, I'm not saying that, you know, it's that thing where, you know, like it doesn't matter which kid dies, like if you lose any child, you know, it doesn't matter what age, you're still gonna feel you're still gonna feel terrible, you know, you're gonna be filled with all this grief, and you're gonna mourn and everything. I'm not saying that, I'm just saying, like, you know, I just feel like it should have been Gage because there was just something about Gage that gripped, like he was just innocent baby, you know, he was little baby, and there was just something about that cute, innocent, precious child that when they die and they come back evil, there's something about that. It was the age, it was how young he was that really got me. Like, he was just too young for that to happen to him. Like, so young. I mean, it shouldn't happen to anyone, but I'm just saying, like, this was a baby. This was a little baby, okay? This was a baby. So, yeah, I don't really think they should have changed that, made the girl die instead, but they actually do have their reasons for doing that. I actually watched interviews about this remake, that the reason why they chose to do that. And one of the reasons is because, you know, nowadays it's hard to find, you know, child actors that would match the age of you know, because, you know, toddlers, yeah, finding toddlers to play this part, because, you know, not all toddlers are gonna do what you say. You know, not all toddlers are gonna actively act in this movie the way they're supposed to, or the way they're directed to by the director. You know, and it's hard to find. It's really hard to find toddlers or any kind of baby for that matter who would do that. It just so happens, like Miko Hughes, he's just very talented, very gifted child. And I'm still surprised to this day that he's 2 years old. He was 2 years old. He was able to act out this part. Like, he did a phenomenal job. But, you know, nowadays, you know, it was very hard. I heard that it was very hard for them to find a child to play this part and actually get them to act, you know, as this character. And, you know, that's probably why. That's probably the thing that they were most worried about. So that's why they were faced with this decision to make this huge change. You know, maybe we should make the older sister die instead. So that's what they did, you know, which, you know, I feel like they still could have made it work, in my opinion. I feel like they could have still made something happen, because I do remember in the original, you know, I watched behind the scenes of the original, you know, Gage wasn't like, they also use a doll or like a puppet or something through the attack scenes where Gage was attacking his father. They were using a doll in those scenes because, you know, there's no way that Miko could actually do that. It's like jump from the freaking attic and then like just, you know, there's no way he could have done that. So of course they had dolls and, you know, all kinds of things like set up they made the doll look like as identical to Miko Hughes as possible. So, you know, they did that. I mean, I feel like they still could have like made this thing work where they could avoid that change, because I just feel like that change is just, but, you know, I'm open-minded, you know, I'm open to this remake. I'm more than happy to see what this remake will turn out to be. From what I heard, there's plenty of great like reviews on it. I mean, I haven't watched any reviews, but, you know, I've heard it has a high rating and Rotten Tomatoes, and that's okay, so it must be really good. Maybe I will like it, I don't know. But at any rate, oh, I will say though, in the remake, I will say one thing, Church, I'm so glad that they chose this cat to play Church, because like literally he's so cute, but he like as the fun-loving Church in the beginning, but like we know, of course, when Church dies, he comes back and evil and everything. I just feel like there's something about this cat that's really even more menacing than the first one in the original. Just the look in its eyes is just wow. But at any rate, you know, that change, you know, with, you know, the character changing in which they die, you know, I don't really think they should have done that, but whatever. I'm really looking forward to seeing this movie and, you know, giving you my thoughts on it after I get finished watching it, you know, do a review. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. I just wanted to review the original Pet Sematary because I feel like, you know, this movie the remake I'm gonna watch very soon, and I just felt like it was like just the perfect time to do this because Pet Sematary happens to be like a really, really great horror film, and it's by Stephen King, none other than Stephen King, and you know, I really like it. So just want to give you my thoughts on it, how I like it, you know. I recommend you guys watch it. Unless, you know, we're not, of course, I'm not forced, you know, it just has to come to you naturally. Like, if you really want to see it, go see it. Like, if you really want to see it, watch it, because, like, it's really good. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment what you think of this video, comment what you think, you know, leave your thoughts in the comments, comment what you think about, if you guys have seen the original Pet Sematary, yes, definitely comment, you know, what do you think of it? Do you like Pet Sematary? Like, do you like the original one? And do not comment what you think of the remake because I do not want to be spoiled at all, okay? I want to see it for myself. Thank you guys for watching. See ya.